It is 7 o'clock. Good evening. I will call this meeting of the Richland County Board of the month of September to order. Ms. Clerk Kalish to take the roll.
So Carroll.
Here.
Miller.
Here.
Schoonover.
Here.
Kramer.
Here.
McKee.
Here.
Hengel.
Here.
Hendricks.
Here.
Manning. Perry.
Here.
Turk.
Here.
Cosgrove.
Here.
Frank. Severson.
Present.
Williamson.
Here.
Cooey.
Here.
Fleming.
Here.
And McGuire.
Here.
You have a quorum.
Tonight, Pastor Randy Sanders from Harvester Christian Church is here. Please stand.
Our gracious Lord and Savior Jesus Christ, we ask for your blessings upon this meeting, for your understanding, for your wisdom to be in our minds and hearts, the very souls. Pray that your wisdom will help us, as your word says in James 1:19, that we will be quick to listen, slow to speak, and slow to become angry. Pray for your blessings with that, and also the ability to speak clearly, and also, once again, to understand others. Thank you for those blessings. In Jesus' name, amen.
Clerk Kalish, please lead us in the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Are we in compliance with the open meetings law?
Yes, Mr. Chair, the meeting is properly noticed.
Very good. We have before us a 39-point agenda. We are scratching item number 33 on that agenda, so that'll leave us 38 things left to deal with. That scratch, do I have a motion to approve the agenda? Motion by Cosgrove, second by Kramer. All those in favor say aye. Aye. It's approved. Item 7 is approving minutes of the previous meeting. The August 19th minutes were distributed. Anybody have any questions, corrections on those minutes? Hearing none, the chair declares those minutes to be approved as presented. Item number 8, public comment. We have members of the public that wish to address the board tonight. Board members, hang on just a second. Public first. Anybody online that's here to address the board? Right, for board members that wish to comment, is this related to something on the agenda? Because we will have opportunity to discuss those things when we get to them.
Yes, mine is, but you could ask Mr.
Carroll.
First if he's
It's not on the agenda.
It's not on the agenda. Okay, Mr. Carroll.
As I think you all know, that a couple years ago, we started a resilience effort here in Richland County. And we tackled a few things to try to see what we can do to make sure we're more resilient as an area. And one of those was water quality, getting a handle on it and preserving it. So what recently has happened is we just rolled out well testing, private well testing. It's free. Southwest Planning Commission was able to link up with the UW Water Lab and a grant. And so they've kicked that off. There's promotion in various places. The Land Conservation Facebook page has the information, and we're passing out flyers. Anyone who wants to get their well tested for free. Check for coliforms, nitrates, some other metals and things. And it's a good way to know where we are today as a county with the water. And I'd say if you're interested, sign up quick. We're already starting to do testing, and they want to get things done before it gets cold. That's all I've got.
Thank you very much for sharing. Any other members of the public to comment? Mr. Angle.
Just a question on Linda Gentes. Is there anything the board does?
It's likely next session we'll have a resolution. Yes. Any other public comment? Go ahead, Blaine.
Yeah, I would like to take a minute to explain to the community how the county board functions and why some concerns and complaints continue throughout our community. Richland County has 21 board members. Currently, there are vacancies which need to be filled. Once you become a member of the county board, you are assigned committees. The entire county board votes on which board members are on committees, and it is this committee that assigns what board members serve on what committees. This is where I have a concern. Recently, because of a vacancy on this committee, the county board took a vote to replace that board member on the committee on committees. The full board voted me to be on this committee. So now I've been to 2 of these committee on committee meetings. I think this committee has 7 or 8 people on it. At each of these meetings, Supervisor Frank has made the motion with his suggestions of what board members he is recommending being assigned to open vacancies on committees. Both times I have questioned and asked to be on a committee because I'm on the fewest committees of any member on the board, such as Pine Valley Committee, a committee that has 2 vacancies, and I have been ignored. I have attended every meeting of this committee, and we have 1 supervisor on the committee that has missed 6 of the last 8 meetings this year. Yet Supervisor Frank is not only on the committee of the department he was a county employee of, but he is the chair of that committee. But when I inquire why a county employee of 30 years who has attended every meeting about the department I work for shouldn't be on the committee that oversees it, my voice was not heard and I was ignored. Committee on committee meetings are online. You can listen for yourself. This is not how we make our community better. So next time you hear people in the community say, good old boy club, or we're not progressing or growing like surrounding communities, know that I am trying my best to change that. Thank you.
Any other members of the public that wish to comment? Then we will move on to item number 9, which is election of a member to the Committee on Committees, an at-large member. So this is something the entire board votes on to elect that representative to the committee. And it is not, we don't predetermine anybody. So if you're not currently on that committee but would have interest, this would be the time to express your interest in being on Committee on Committees.
So I will circulate a ballot to go around. We elect
Yep.
committee on committee members, just in full disclosure then. Current committee on committee members include, for the board rules and the composition of the committee on committee, it's composed of the board chair, the vice chair, and 5 other committee members at large. So you have Supervisor Turk as the board chair representation, Supervisor Williamson as the vice chair, and then you have Supervisor Caro, Hendricks, Frank, and Severson as the 4 at large. And as Chair Turk said, we will then be electing another member for the at large position to fill the vacancy from Supervisor Glassburger. So I will pass these ballots around. They do have everyone who's available to be voted to be on that ballot. So I will pass them around and then.
Mr. Schoonover.
Just one question now. This committee on committee meets as needed.
As needed, correct.
It's not a monthly schedule.
Correct. Sometimes more than once a month if that's what's needed, but as needed. So if anyone has interest, again, as Clerk Taylor said, the ballot lists everybody who could potentially be elected. So if you have interest and want your fellow supervisors to know that, potentially vote for you, now would be the time to say so. Of the same token, if you do not want to be on it, please tell us so we can help vote. Right here. Mr. Cooley does not wish to be on it. Everybody vote for Mark Cooley. No. All right, Mr. Perry, thank you. Mr. Perry is interested. Is anybody else? You're not interested? Okay, so Supervisor Miller does not wish to be voted for. Any other supervisors wish to? Okay, Supervisor Kramer is also interested. So we have 2 who've expressed interest, 2 who've said no way. So let's go ahead and make your choices from the available ones. And be sure to write your name at the bottom of the ballot. This is not a secret ballot, so write your name at the bottom where it says voter name. Ready? Hey, did I get everybody? Okay, let Mr. Window will check them over. All ready to move. $16. Yeah. That's good. Yep. See, it's very. Very much. Kramer, no. Kramer. Kramer. Harry. Eric. So we have one other vote. Okay. Seven here. Four. One from team. Bacon. Yep. Next week you should have 16. Okay, all right. So after votes have been tallied, the winner of the balloting was Supervisor Perry. Welcome to the Committee on Committees.
Thank you.
All right, moving on to item number 10, appointments to various boards, committees, and commissions.
So you will note in your folder and up on the screen is the list of proposed committee appointments. The majority of them were appointed by the Committee on Committees and the rest by myself. So we are looking for you to approve this list of appointments.
Motion by Cosgrove, second by Kramer to approve the recommendations brought forth by the administrator and by the Committee on Committees. Discussion. Elaine, go ahead.
As you know, I would like to amend it, and so I would nominate myself to be on my ballot.
Okay, we're not taking nominations. We have these list of candidates that we're either saying yes or no to. Okay.
So when do I do that then, sir?
When Committee on Committees meets. Okay, that's,
If it's an amendment to the proposal.
well, okay, that's true. Yeah.
Move to amendment.
Okay, so you would amend our proposed list of nominees,
Yes.
and so you're making that as a motion to amend that?
Yes.
And add you in place of, Randy Scooper.
Yes.
Okay, so that's the motion. Do I have a second?
I'm going to second that. The reason I'm going to second that is because I think, so 8-person committee and 1 vote per committee member. And if a committee member, public servant, requests a committee, and this is the second time I've heard this, because I did listen to the video from the meeting with committee consents. And I think it was really clear Elaine was ignored. And my problem is not so much with the vote on the nominee as it is with the fact that it's denied the opportunity to vote on the nominee. So that's why I'm seconding. I think the decision should be made. And I think everybody can live with a decision that says, didn't get the votes. But to be denied the opportunity shows bias, and I don't think that's good for a board.
We have a motion and a second to replace Randy Schoonover's name as the representative to Pine Valley with Elaine Hendricks. Further discussion?
There is one other thing. There is another vacant seat on the board. So technically, Randy could still serve.
Well, the Committee on Committees elected to leave that seat vacant because we have 4 other supervisors that are going to need committee assignments when they come on board. And so at this time, there was no nomination for that seat, so.
Just a point of information. There is another open seat.
Other discussion? Mr. Chair. Yes, Mr. Wendell.
I feel like I would be remiss if I didn't alert those board members who were not around as to Supervisor Hendrick's exact history with Pine Valley. It is challenging, to say the least. And so just be aware of that as you make your vote.
Ms. Hendricks, go ahead.
I would also point out that there's a history with my communication and prior issues with Supervisor Frank when he worked for the Sheriff's Department.
So in my business, we call things forgiveness, and there's a length of time in which that happens. There's really no reason why something shouldn't be done. And it will take.
Other discussion? All those in favor of the amendment, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Aye. Do a roll call vote on the amendment, please.
So looks like we started with,
The amendment is again to replace Randy Schoonover's name as the Pine Valley Committee representative with Elaine Hendricks.
Placing, totally replacing.
To take him off and put her on the list.
so.
And right now, he's just on the list. He's not actually on the committee yet.
All right, so we'll start with Engel,
Aye.
Hendricks,
Aye.
Manning,
No.
let's see, Perry,
Aye.
Turk,
No.
Cosgrove.
No.
Frank, Severson,
Severson, aye.
Williamson,
No.
Cooey,
Aye.
Fleming,
No.
McGuire,
Aye.
Carroll,
No.
Miller,
Abstain.
Schoonover,
No.
Kramer,
Aye.
McKee.
Aye.
Okay, so I have 8 yes votes and I have 7 no votes.
Yep. Okay. The motion carries. So now, considering the list as amended, any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? No.
Who was that?
And the motion carries.
Gary.
All right. So, luck and congratulations to all those on your new committees. We are on to item number 11. We have one rezoning tonight for parcel 012-2044-3000.
This will be ordinance number 25-21, amendment number 629 to the Code of Ordinance, chapter 119. The following described 2.0 acre parcel in the town of Forest is hereby rezoned from industrial to the residential district. You have the legal description before you. This ordinance shall be effective upon passage and publication and is being offered to you by the Natural Resources Standing Committee on August 4 of 2025.
For the ordinance, to have a motion. Motion by Manning. Second by Carroll. Discussion. Steve, you have background on this.
Yeah, a little background. This is at SS Cycle, and there's a residence on that property, but they want to partition this off and call it residential. And so it's just a formality to do that.
Any further discussion? Not all in favor, please say aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? This is adopted. Report on any petitions for zoning amendments received since the last county board session.
No, they were not.
Okay. And then none recommended for denial?
None.
Okay, very good. We'll move on to item 14, our reports, starting with the administrator's update.
So I did put a written report, my update and the tower project update in the folder. Due to the large amount of items we have tonight, I'll just leave it in there. And if you have any questions, you can let me know. But I did want you to know that I put this at your spot. All board members are eligible for the county employee assistance program. So here's the information if you are in need of it or someone in your household is also in need of the services that has been added for you.
Any questions for the administrator? We'll move on to the 2026 preliminary county budget.
So in the packet is the preliminary budget summary. We have some new board members, so I just want to go over a little bit what the process is of creating the budget. Each department is given their budget sheets and asked to create a draft budget based on their needs for 2026. They then have individual meetings with myself, Clerk Kalish, and Tammy Newberry, as the three of us worked together pretty intensively to complete the budget summary. We then had discussions back and forth about what their budget sheets look like, and then we put everything together to bring to you. So if we start with the budget highlights. So the first thing that we have put in here is we have advanced all employees one step on the wage scale for full-time employees. As you may recall, we did a recent wage study, and that was one of the things that was recommended to keep up with the market is to give a step every year to employees. They also recommended a COLA, but we were not able to build that into the budget this year. But we did feel it was very important to make sure that they got that step so that employees understand that they are valued, and we want to keep the good employees that we have. We did add the addition of a radio tower technician and a radio tower operations funding. With the $8 million radio tower project, it is important that we take care of it and we maintain it. So in 10 years, we're not trying to do deferred maintenance on it and trying to get caught up. So we do have $147,000 built into that budget, and then adding that radio tower technician to the MIS department. So when they are not maintaining the towers, that person is able to help with other MIS needs. We are restructuring some departments through all of this. The first restructure is the administration department. So I am proposing to add a HR director and eliminate the HR generalist. We are looking to, at Simons, instead of having one director, have a director of operations and then a director of, oh, I wrote down the wrong word. It'll come back to me. We're really looking at the big picture and others looking at the day-to-day. In emergency services, we separated emergency management apart from the ambulance service. And then for ambulance, we are adding an administrative assistant as a county employee. They currently have an administrative assistant, but it is contracted through Southwest. So we are looking to have them be a county employee that is not a full-time position. And then at Health and Human Services, they're adding a lead in the Child and Youth Services and a lead in the Behavioral Health Unit to help support the managers and provide more one-on-one support with the workers. We are also focusing on maintaining and enhancing cybersecurity. So that budget did increase significantly. I think it's important to remember that there were a few things that we did that increased that budget. Number one, there is zero ARPA available anymore. That helps support our MIS department, helps support cybersecurity. We have combined department expenses. So previously, if the clerk's office needed a new laptop, they would budget that in. We pulled that out of individual departments for the most part. Some departments still have that when they have funding that's available to fund those things, but it'll all go into that budget. And it was really in response to the breach to increase the security. There were a lot of things that we did to increase security of our system and that we will continue to need to do. I think it's important to really note that Iowa County is still struggling to be able to complete the work that they need to do due to the breach that they had. So it's important that we keep our system as secure as we can. The next slide talks about our revenue type summary. So these are all the different revenue types that we have and that we use to build our budget. On the next page, we then go over our preliminary budget revenues. Just some things to note. The taxes did go up, that sales tax and stuff did go up a little bit from last year. But the intergovernmental funds went down, went down from last year. Public charges for services went up from last year. Our other general revenues, I would like to note that we have $750,000 built in from Pine Valley, and we're building in just over 300,000 from the general fund. To balance our budget, we did have to add the general fund there. You will also notice that the highway budget is increased a lot from the year prior, and the overall budget is increased. This is due to the Highway O project. So there's significant increase in expenses, but also significant increases in revenue. So you will see that most likely drop the following year. The next page then has a breakdown of the revenues. Are there any questions on our revenues? We will then
I do
go.
have a question about county wheel tax. I spent some time with the township folks, and they wonder if if there's a possibility they could receive some of that funding too. I think like Richland, our township has 1,400 vehicles. So, and their budget's strapped. So I'm wondering why we don't, Grand County, for instance, cost shares with. I wonder why we don't.
It's up to y'all.
Pardon you?
The board hasn't voted to engage in a cost sharing mechanism. So
We've utilized all that funding for road maintenance since we instituted the wheel tax, so it's being spent on roadways in the county.
Yeah, the county roadways,
Yes.
the township roadways.
The wheel tax can't go for township.
Right.
It can
I think
only
it's
go
part
for
of state
township.
statute.
Yeah.
If I remember, carrying, we were all on there when we decided to go that route.
Is it? If it stays paid by.
It
The
could
wheel
be.
tax itself. Now, you're kind of talking about two different things, really. But you'd have to keep the wheel tax separate, is my understanding. But if the county wanted to engage in cost share with the townships on roads, that's a different animal. Yeah.
It would have to come from a different road.
I was just asking about that, and this
Yeah.
statute clear.
And I think one thing to note, and we can talk about it a little bit later, but the budget levy, the amount of levy in the highway department has not increased since 2021, and it actually dropped in 2021 from 2020. And so they have been operating on the same levy amount for 5 years. So they are one that we will have to look to increase their levy in the future to be able to continue to maintain the roads. Our next sheet is the expense type summary. And these are the different programs or different groupings that we have. General government is really the administration, the clerk of courts, the county clerk, the register of deeds. Public safety is our sheriff's, emergency government, ambulance. Health and social services is not just health and human services, but it also incorporates Pine Valley, child support, and veterans. Transportation is our airport. We have our highway. We have culture, which is libraries and the county fair. We have public areas, which is our snowmobile trails, our parks, the forest, Simons. Special education is our extension program. Natural resources is land conservation. Recycling, wildlife damage management. County planning is our Southwest Wisconsin Regional Planning Commission, zoning, and our failing septic systems. County development is our neighborhood housing services, and then debt services, and then capital projects. And if you look at the total amounts for each of them, you'll notice that debt services did increase, or you may or may not notice that debt services did increase, but we will be paying on the radio tower, and so that will be an increase there. Any questions about our current expenses that we have? And then the next screen breaks it down into a different format for you. We then have our debt service summary, and this lists all the debt that we have and how much we will be paying in 2026 on our debt services. Our next screen then goes over the top 5 departments by gross levy, starting with the Sheriff's Department, debt services, highway, our institutional costs, and then health and human services. And I will want to note again that highway levy has remained the same since 2021. In 2021, that was a decrease. And then we have our levy broke down by department, and we also have the 2025 levy versus the 2026 levy built in there. So this is our proposed budget, draft budget that we have for you. Are there any questions that anyone has?
Yeah, you want me to go? for
Sure,
this one?
yeah. There's 3 additional documents that we have added to the packet that Derek will go over each of them.
Good question.
Is that after you're done?
Oh, okay. The 3 additional documents then, for those of you that have been part of these budget presentations for a little while, have been kind of the 3 core documents that we used to use to assemble the budget prior to the county administrative form of government. I fondly say I grew up on these forms because this is how I learned the county budget. So I'm slightly partial to them, but we also use them for different purposes, primarily for accounting purposes and just for tabulation purposes. So these, as I've said before, these documents have kind of morphed into various things throughout their life, but we have 3 of them here that kind of do different things for us. So the first document you see there is a tax levy distribution, and this is how that tax levy is distributed by fund. So we use fund accounting here at Richland County. So this just really breaks out the revenues and the expenditures and assigns them to a fund. And this is what our accounting supervisor uses when we do the journal entry to allocate the levy for accounting purposes to the different funds. So the information that you're going to see in this sheet, the next one, and the budget workbook, it's all the same information. It's just put in a different format for a different use. So this provides you with just an overall summary of every expenditure, every revenue, and how we distribute that through the fund. So again, more so an accounting document than anything else, but it is a nice thing for you to look at, especially for the administrative team when we're meeting with departments to review their budget. It kind of gives us a snapshot of what they had last year, what they have this year, and kind of where we're sitting at with the levy. So I won't go through every line, but as you look at that document, that's what you're seeing there. You're seeing the same information, just presented in different formats for a different purpose. So if you want to scroll through, John, it just goes through the different departments. Again, I won't read each one of these lines to you because we'll be here till tomorrow morning, and I don't think you all want to hear me talk that much. So we'll go down. If you want to go to the next document. So this is all in the packet. So again, it just breaks it down by fund with revenues and expenditures, arrives at that total tax levy. We also historically did this between manual entry between the 3 different documents because we didn't have software that allowed us to really kind of condense all of this. So my hope is that for the next budget year, you will all be given a budget workbook that has this in a different format, that has detail that you can drill down a little more easily, and doesn't mean we have to do manual entry for all this, because this is essentially data manual entry into Excel. So the second document that you have up here then is the levy by department. The first one you looked at was fund. This is then by department. So this breaks it down by department. So we see the 2025 levy, the 2026 levy, and then what the difference is between those departments. So again, like I know the county clerk one pretty well, and I always point to that one. So you can see there, the county clerk levy there for 2025, the levy for 2026, and there's a slight reduction in there. We moved some stuff out of my budget and put it in the county tech fund. As Administrator Clement said, we're reorganizing funds with the implementation of the new Tyler software. We're able to do that a little more easily and just have information better organized. So there will be some different organizations we do with this, but this document gives you the same thing the other one did. It's just broken out by department instead of by fund. So if you scroll down, John, you'll see, again, this is a very handy tool to use when we're meeting with department heads. I find it very helpful because in a snapshot, we can see where each department then is at with their budget compared to last year. And when we're entering these things, especially this year when we migrated to the new software, it allowed us to make sure that stuff transferred over correctly as well, which was a bit of a bugger, but we got it. So if you scroll down through, again, more of an accounting / budgeting worksheet. Goes down through. Tried to color code it. So this is the budget, then the budget workbook, what we all know is the budget workbook. This is going to change next year, but this then takes all of those totals that you just, the administrator comments went over in the PowerPoint, and breaks it down by those different categories that are quite common for counties to categorize their expenses. And so that gives us the overall expenses, what the revenues are, and then helps us work our way back down to our levy to make sure that we are within our allowable levy limit worksheet, or to fill that worksheet out. This is again more of a calculation worksheet than anything, but if you scroll down, you're going to see the same exact information broken out by those different types of revenues that administrator comments went over and expenditures. I do want to note that on the bottom, you're going to see page 4 and you're going to see 5, and there may be some pages missing. It's not budget pages of the budget are not missing. It's just the way it was formatted. The extra columns were showing up and it was putting all these extra pages in there that were blank pages. So it's just a formatting thing. But nonetheless, that workbook is where we again enter all those totals. So we've now entered it in 3 different documents to make sure all 3 documents stay the same, that we arrive at the same levy, and we use that to work our way backwards to make sure we're within our allowable levy. And to then obviously compare overages and underages to figure out where, where we're at as a whole. So if you scroll down, again, I won't go through every one of these lines with you, but you have all that information there. It does sort out the highway budget. So if you keep going, John, there's a separate sheet for the highway budget. My hope is that next year we will have a sheet like this for Pine Valley, because Pine Valley and highway are the different, internal service enterprise funds that we have. So hopefully next year we'll have a different reporting form for Pine Valley, so you can see that a little more clearly, and so it matches the audit. So if you scroll down one more, this is again that debt service. So what we have for debt, this is just the principal payments for the 2025 debt schedule, which is also in the workbook in a different format. You see my notes there. These are just kind of notes for me to keep track of things. So I think those are the other 3 documents other than the PowerPoint that's in there. Again, all of the revenue or all of the budget worksheets, when they're collected or submitted to us, we manually enter them into these sheets, and then we upload them into Tyler, or the new software, to then arrive at the budgets to present to you folks. Oh, yeah, nice. Those are your passes.
Questions for either the administrator or our county clerk?
I will note that totals, more defined totals will start to come in from the state. For instance, the shared revenue total, the original estimate was just released a little bit ago. The levy limit worksheet, I was able to access that levy limit worksheet today to see what our allowable levy limit is. So as some of those other totals come in, there will more than likely be modifications to some of these revenues, as we get more clearly defined totals. So there will likely be some changes because we will want to adopt the budget with the most obviously pertinent and relevant and known information that we have at the time of adoption. So you will see a few changes with some of these totals as a release to us, but I don't anticipate it to be anything major at this point.
Since we have an adopted state budget to deal with, right?
Correct.
Yes. That's something we haven't always had in the past when we've done county budgets, so. Right. Any questions on the budget?
The point, about $1 million a week to run Richland County. I
Yeah.
don't think the average citizen realizes that.
Good point. Good point.
And there are the other numbers too, like Forward Analytics did release some information regarding sales tax trends. That's one thing I did mention last time. We've historically kind of been very conservative on that number just because that number can change very quickly. And so I don't like to budget for that unknown revenue source, even if there's a projection that way. So that number, we need to maybe look at that a little closer because it is a little different than what we have in there now. Again, that'd be a revenue, so that'd be good for that would help balance things a little more. But those are just the minor tweaks that we'll have to make as those numbers come in and more data is released.
Be clear, this county sales tax generates in excess of $1 million a year for us, so it's an important revenue source. counties that rely heavily on tourism saw major hits to their budgets when COVID happened. Our sales tax revenue actually went up. That's where people were staying home and shopping. And now there are better collections of sales taxes with online retailers too. So that I think helped us as well. But in the grand scheme, yeah, it's a little part of the budget, but it's an important little part. It is not insignificant that we are relying on approximately $300,000 of general fund money to balance this budget. We haven't done that for a long time, and it's not a good thing to do. We have been very responsible in our budgeting for several years and have underspent, and so we've had a buildup of our general fund, which is a good thing. We can get away with this for a year. But we need to be all forewarned that for 2027, the budget's going to be even tighter, and we can't dip back into general fund again. We're going to have to figure some very hard questions out. Keep that in mind as we continue to move forward with the budget process and as you talk to people about what next year is going to look like. Any other notes?
If there are any other questions, I didn't bring the 750-page binder. You're all welcome to look through every one of the worksheets if you'd like to. I didn't bring it with me, but again, all that information is condensed into what you've seen before. So there, if you would like to see that, we'd be happy to share that binder.
At this point, that is our preliminary budget. We'll be acting on the formal budget later on in subsequent meetings. So, all right. Then we will move on to legislative update. A couple of folks had a chance to chat with Tony Kurtz on Monday.
Yes, we had a meeting with him and had a nice breakfast with him. And we're able to talk about the campus, talk about the Highway O project. So that was nice. It was good.
The other legislative reps here that want to, we put this on our agenda because sometimes the legislators will send their representatives to our county board meetings. So we have a place on the agenda where they can speak if they're here. All right, then let's move on to item 15. An initial resolution authorizing not to exceed $1,085,000 general obligation promissory notes for capital improvement projects.
All right, so the resolution will be 25-68. Now therefore be it resolved by the Richland County Board of Supervisors that the county borrow an amount not to exceed $1,085,000 by issuing its general obligation promissory notes for the public purposes of financing 2026 capital improvement projects. There be and there hereby is levied on all taxable property in the county a direct annual tax in such years and such amounts as are sufficient to pay when due the principal and interest on such notes. This would be adopted, approved, and recorded September 16th of 2025. We do have Carol Worth from Wisconsin Public Finance Professionals, I believe she's on, to review this with us.
Okay. Before we get to that discussion, do I have a motion on the resolution? Motion by Manning, second by Schoonover. Now we're open for discussion. Carol, if you're on, this would be your time.
I am here. Thank you. Good evening. All right. In your packets is a report that I had presented to the Executive and Finance Committee about the topic of short-term borrowing. This is the 6th time that Richland County has done such a short-term borrowing. It is primarily driven by levy limits, which restricts your ability to generate the revenue needed to pay expenses within your operating budget. And your operating budget includes expenses for both operations as well as for capital projects. Because of that, capital projects are removed from the operating budget and provided for by doing short-term borrowing. And that borrowing is outstanding for about 3 months. It is general obligation debt, and that debt is not subject to levy limits. Okay, so that's the reason why the short-term borrowing is done. The report identifies the capital projects that have been approved by the county board at a previous meeting, and the borrowing provides for those projects and the expenses associated with the borrowing. So that brings us to an issue size of $1,085,000. The initial resolution is the first step in the borrowing process. This is required under the Wisconsin statutes. It does not commit the county to doing a borrowing, but rather provides the county board with authority to do a borrowing at a future date. So the initial resolution itself contains a not to exceed dollar amount. As you can see, it's $1,085,000. And it has language that describes what the borrowed funds may be used for. And that language is for the purpose of paying the cost of 2026 capital improvement projects. So the borrowed funds cannot be used for paying other operating expenses. The adoption of the initial resolution requires a 3/4 vote of county board members elect. So Richland County has a 21-member board, so that would make 16 yes votes to adopt the resolution. However, at the present time, there are 4 vacancies, so we did get the opinion of the county's bond council, which is Quarles and Brady, that we would be allowed to consider members elect as 17 members at this time, and therefore the 3/4 vote that would be required would be 13 yes votes. The short-term borrowing itself would be the issuance of municipal bonds in the bond market. They would be tax exempt, also subject to federal law, which basically requires the county to spend the money within 3 years, but you can invest the money as needed and until needed to be used for project costs, and you can receive any interest rate on those investments. We are preparing the county to enter the bond market with the preparation of what's called an official statement, which is a prospectus on the county, and an official notice of sale, which are the instructions to anyone who wants to submit a bid. This is all sent out into the bond market on various bidding platforms and to any banks that are interested in submitting a bid. I am also available to any banks that would like to submit a bid. I can assist them personally with that process. The next step after we put this out into the market is to have the county board, well, first of all, we would take bids from anyone interested in submitting one, and that would be on a date and time specific of October 20th. And then we bring the county board the what's called award resolution for adoption on the night of October 20th. That resolution will contain the final interest rate, and it will officially award the notes to the winning bidder. And that requires a vote of the majority vote of the county board members present. Okay, so that will be different than what this initial resolution requires. The adoption of the 2026 budget will include the tax levy for the total amount of principal and interest that would be due on the borrowing. And that portion is calculated outside of levy limits. November 19th would be the date that the county would receive all of the funds that comes to the county all at one time. It is deposited into what's called a project account. Again, you can invest that at any yield that you can achieve until you need it to pay for project costs. The note itself will come due on March 1 of 2026. Okay, so that's the process that's required. You go through the adoption of the budget, the levy of the tax, and then the collection of the taxes between December and February of 2026. And then on March 1st is when the principal and interest is paid off. Currently, there are estimated numbers in my report that shows the principal and interest being paid back in the amount of $1,098,065, and that assumes an interest rate of 4.25%. Again, you know, we're right in the middle of a open markets meeting with the Federal Reserve. They're considering if they are going to lower interest rates, that would affect the short end, which means it would affect this borrowing. So maybe I can come back to you with better news than what we're projecting. The Debt service, that $1,098,000, if I divide it into your 2025 equalized value, that would give us a tax rate of 51 cents per thousand, or $51 on $100,000 of property value. So I'm ready for questions.
Board members with questions? This is just the initial resolution. This isn't the actual borrowing money, but it gives the board permission to then, next step, borrow the money. Questions? All those in favor of adopting the resolution, say aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? Passes unanimously. Item 16 is related, a municipal advisory agreement with Wisconsin Public Finance Professionals, LLC.
This would be resolution number 25-7. No, sorry. It's stuck with my other one here. Here we go. 25-69. Now therefore be it resolved by the Richland County Board of Supervisors that approval is hereby granted the municipal advisory agreement with Wisconsin Public Finance Professionals, LLC, a copy of which is on file in the county clerk's office and is accessible on the county's website. Be it further resolved that the county administrator, Trisha Clements, and county clerk, Derek Kalish, are hereby authorized to sign the municipal advisory agreement on behalf of the county, and be it further resolved that this resolution shall be effective immediately upon its passage. This is being offered to you by the Executive and Finance Standing Committee on August 25, 2025.
For that resolution, do I have a motion? Motion by Mr. Perry, second by Mr. McKee. Discussion on this.
So this is a agreement that we need to do on a yearly basis so that we can work with them to go out to the bond market for us.
Any questions? Those in favor say aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? Resolution's adopted. Number 17, resolution approving scope of engagement with Quarles and Brady LLP for issuance of $1,085,000 general obligation promissory notes.
This will be resolution number 25-70. Now therefore be it resolved by the Richland County Board of Supervisors that the scope of engagement is outlined by Quarles and Brady LLP. Again, a copy of which is on file in the clerk's office and accessible on the county's website is approved. Be it further resolved that the county administrator, Trisha Clements, is hereby authorized to sign to accept the scope of engagement on behalf of the county, and be it further resolved that this resolution shall be effective immediately upon passage. This is again offered to you by the Executive and Finance Standing Committee on August 25, 2025.
Okay. For a motion on this resolution. Motion by McKee, second by Kramer, and discussion.
So this is another one that we do on a yearly basis when we do this short-term borrowing so that we can work with Quarles and Brady to go out to market.
For bond counsel.
Bond counsel, yes.
Our legal counsel for the bond issuance. Questions on this one?
What are these guys' charges?
It's in the resolutions.
It is around $10,000 and $11,000. I'm looking for the exact amount. It's around 20,000 for the, yeah, where did, thank you, 10,500. It's on page 3 of the document on the bottom.
Okay. Other questions? All those in favor say aye. Aye. When opposed? Resolution's adopted. Thank you, Carol.
Thank you very much. I'll see you on October 20th.
All right, very good. Okay. Item 18, a resolution approving a change order for the radio tower project.
This will be resolution number 25-71. Now therefore be it resolved that the Richland County Board of Supervisors approves the payment of change order number 2 in the amount of $251,701 to be paid from Fund 94. Be it further resolved that this resolution shall be effective immediately upon passage. Again, offered to you by the Executive and Finance Standing Committee on September 9 of 2025.
Resolution, motion by Manning. For a second. Second by McKee. And discussion.
So I will start the discussion, but we also have Mike Day online and he will continue it. So the last tower that we have yet to construct, we are in the process of constructing, is the Yuba site. We originally started with one location. We were never able to come up with a final agreement with that landowner, and we had to pivot and go to a different site. This site is not as convenient for building a tower, and so there has been a lot of added expenses to that. And I will have Mike talk through the change order and explain more of what is going on.
Yeah, essentially, is that echoing? No?
No, go ahead.
Okay, sorry. Yeah, essentially this site, of the 9 towers, this site was one the county couldn't come in agreement with the landowner. We searched a couple of properties, but ultimately settled on the one across the street in order to maintain the 9 site design. And so it's just lagged behind because of that. We had to go back through regulatory and stuff. So ultimately, the cost of what you're seeing here is born out of the ground being falling off from the road and needing a retaining wall, not just a simple retaining wall, but a very extensive retaining wall, which is also has required a few other changes to both the foundation of the actual shelter and some minor things with just getting fencing in there. But the retaining wall is the big lift. So requires a very large block system. And also that system is trucked in on 11 semi trailers. So I hope, I don't know. I think you have the additional. There you go. And so I don't know if anybody has any questions. We've tried to break down a little bit of understanding of the site and what that large block wall looks like, and in reference to each of the line items. And apologize, I think on the last meeting, I one of the items that I misspoke on, I believe, was the bonding question, and I hope that's clarified up a little bit, that line item was just for the bond that came along with the original contract, and whenever you increase the contract, the bonding fee goes up. So, any other questions?
Mr. Harrell.
Yeah, the narrative and the pictures are helpful, but in the Executive and Finance Committee, we'd asked for a little more detail back up on the 192,000. Is that still in the works?
As far as the detail that I think we tried to provide there was just that these walls have been installed by our vendor previously. They've done a search and checked with multiple vendors. There's not a lot of vendors that make this product, this size of product, and they've done a search between the ones that are available, and ultimately chose this one because of both the price itself and then the location. These blocks are made out in Janesville, so trucking them over to Richland County was a little more reasonable. It's not just the block wall itself. There, with that particular line item, is also pouring a foundation or a footing for that wall, and then laying the blocks, unloading them, of course, and laying them all in place and getting that structure built.
Understood. But someone generated numbers that added up to 192,000, and we were hoping we could see all those numbers, the actual estimate.
I did not get like a breakdown of that particular line item to say what was labor and what was rock and drainage and that kind of stuff. So I'm sorry, I misunderstood there.
Is that something we could get?
Yes, yes, it is.
Thanks.
Other questions? Hearing none, all those in favor of approving the change order resolution, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Resolution is adopted. Item 19, a resolution making changes in how ambulance service is provided by the county.
This will be resolution number 25-72. Therefore, be it resolved by the Richland County Board of Supervisors, the updated memorandum of agreement attached here to as Exhibit A and incorporated herein by reference shall be adopted by the county as the guiding document for the provision of ambulance services. And be it further resolved that Resolution 14-149 is repealed in its entirety. Be it further resolved that the Richland County Ambulance Service shall be considered a department of the county, subject to the same policies and authorities as any other department, except as otherwise provided by the law or the board. And be it further resolved that this resolution shall be effective immediately upon its passage and publication. This is being offered to you by the Executive and Finance Standing Committee on September 9th of 2025.
Okay, you've heard the resolution. Do I have a motion? Motion by Mr. Manning, second by Mr. McKee. Discussion.
So back in 2014, there was a resolution put in place that created the JAC and oversight of the ambulance service. With the county having an administrator style of government, we do need to change that structure. So we're asking that the original resolution be repealed. We're also looking to have a new memorandum of agreement where the per call cost is $225 with a minimum of $2,500. So if your per call costs are less than $2,500, you would still pay that $2,500. We really created a budget that could help us have the ambulance service be sustainable. We have 3 very old ambulances. We have a roof that is in need of being repaired. And so we do need to look at these rates and look at having a service that is sustainable and that is not supported with county levy. That is the ultimate goal.
So Richland Township is in District 6. And I talked to Matt Schmitz, the supervisor chair, and a couple of his members. And they don't have a difficulty with the money being raised, but it's a 32% increase. So that's strong. They wanted a little more rationale for it. But what he didn't have is that they need ambulances and roof and that kind of thing, right? So he didn't, that wasn't on the horizon. The second thing he was concerned about was that number of calls. It's averaged on over 4 years. Richland Township has 57 average, but yet they're going to be billed for 132 for this coming year. So that moves them from a $10,000 fee to a $27,000 fee, which for a strapped township, they had issues with. And again, they didn't have all of them. They didn't mention the material you mentioned. So I'm wondering whether or not we should place this one on hold until further discussions with them ahead. Because I think they'll sell it if they understand it. So it's just a shock to move from 10 to 27.
One of the things that I have found since I have been in this position and really looking at this budget is we have not created an ambulance budget that allows the service to be sustainable. The rates of the 170 per call have been in place since at least 2017. We have not passed on these added expenses to the townships at all, the municipalities at all. This is not a service we are required to provide. This is a service that 10 years ago we said, we'll do this agreement with the hope that in 1 year, you guys figure it out because it's a service you are required to provide. We'll do it for the next year, but then we can't do it anymore. And we have continued to provide that service. If this is a service that the board wants the county to continue to provide, we have to make it sustainable. We have to build a budget that allows us to replace ambulances, that allows us to repair the roof when it needs to be repaired. And those are the things that are talked about at the Joint Ambulance Committee meetings. And all the townships and municipalities are a part of it. So they should know the need to have a new ambulance. They should know that there's a need to have a new roof, because those are things that have been discussed at that meeting since I've been in that position.
The committee meetings are important. I agree with that. But this is a broader public discussion about the ambulance, whether or not to do it or not, plus the increases. So I'm just wondering whether there's a step of bringing in more people for the discussion and get the information out there prior to having a decision made. It's going to make them look like big brothers coming. So my question is process, not the end.
I have been getting, and I guess townships and municipalities are gonna have to let us know, but I've been getting pressure that they need these numbers, they have to build their budget. If we put this off for another month, they won't get final numbers till October 21st, because we would vote on it on October 20th. On October 21st is when we could get them that information. They can create their budgets based off of that. That's up to them. But the other part that we have is if we have entities that are saying we can't afford this service and we have to go elsewhere, we need to be making decisions because we have a full staff. And it's not fair to them for us to say on December 31st, I'm sorry, you don't have a job tomorrow. And so we need to get them information so they can take it to their committees, their boards, and be able to come back and say, yep, we can do it, or no, we can't. I also want to say, this was shared in July at the JAC, these numbers. This was shared at August, what the costs were going to be. This isn't something that they just found out when it went to executive and finance. The JAC, which they are a part of, they were notified back in July that this is the rates that we are looking at for 2026.
Just one more response, that's all I got. And that is, this is a minefield on a number of levels. So I'm just, again, questioning the process because I don't want to see anything blow up.
And this isn't just about ambulances and building either. Everything has cost. Where we are paying our emergency medical staff more than we used to, and we need to because we need to be able to attract qualified staff and keep the service fully staffed. And we've been able to do that now. Supplies have increased astronomically in price over the last couple of years. There were some things, and I don't remember which things specific they were, but they saw well over 100% price increase in just the last couple of years. So to just maintain the capability of the service, let alone vehicles and a building, has become way more expensive than it has been in the past.
It is pretty divided out there in terms of public opinion on a variety of different things. So that's why I'm suggesting the process.
Ms. Hendricks, go ahead.
Yeah, I just have a question because I read this. So does this mean that JAC will no longer be a thing?
How this is set up is that they would still be a thing, but they would be advisory only. So it would be, information would be taken to them. They would give a vote on what they want to see taken to the next level. There's still things that can be taken, but it will be brought to executive and finance that says, this is what the JAC is recommending based on how we have it set up right now.
Mr. Studo. No. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
When you say 100% increase, are you talking about 100% increase in calls or 100% increase in our operational cost?
100% increase or more in some operational costs. Although call volumes have tended higher as well in the last couple of years.
Okay.
I know there was discussion that right now it's structured as being a memorandum agreement, but perhaps it might be preferable to do a contract. I'll ask Corp Counsel to weigh in on that.
Yeah, so, and I apologize for not raising this during executive and finance, but frankly, me not asking enough questions about this agreement when it was last renewed is a contributing factor to why we're here today. And so I reviewed this memorandum agreement with an eye towards preserving as much of the existing agreement as possible, as is my normal course of doing things, unless I'm directed to come up with something new whole cloth. But it's very bare bones. It's clearly meant to govern a relationship between two closely held parties that work closely together. If we're considering the ambulance service as a service, the board should contemplate having more of a service contract, so something more robust, indemnity clauses, force majeure clauses, just the standard stuff that you would see in a contract. Now, that would make it far more extensive. The benefit would be that I can include more to cover the county's concerns and minimize the liability there. If that is a direction that the board would be interested in going, but just know that this agreement is meant to be simple and preserve as much of the language of the old agreement as possible. It is not necessarily what I would consider to be the best document to govern the relationship between the ambulance service and those who use it.
And so the intent would be that the current agreement that's in place would end at the end of this year. This agreement would be in place for 2026 and would need to be revisited because it would end at the end of 2026.
And would that be every year a new agreement would be made up, or?
That's what we'd have to talk about. Is it going to be a 1 year? Is it going to be multiple years? Setting it up initially for 1 year.
And I think we discussed, we would start them discussions about July, so everybody, township, city, county would know what the 27 expenses could possibly be.
Yeah, not to skip ahead, but as we move to the Simons agreement, I can direct you to language that I could include in a more robust contract that would mirror the Simons agreement, where it's contemplated that this is a 1 year agreement to try and see how things work. And it directs the parties basically to start those negotiations in the contract itself.
Other questions?
I would ask if we go with this memorandum of agreement. Under number 2, it says in which person or persons picked up by the ambulance were located. I think we need to clarify that it should state that if a request for an ambulance was made and the ambulance was dispatched. So it's not just if the ambulance transported somebody, it's if the ambulance received a call. So I would ask for that amendment.
And that's not part of the body of the resolution we're adopting, so would it need to be an amendment to the motion?
So the entirety of the memorandum agreement is incorporated into the resolution by reference.
Okay, so we would need to have a motion to make an amendment to the agreement. Okay, motion by Supervisor McKee to add that language, second by Supervisor Perry. Any further discussion on changing it to reflect ambulance being dispatched versus person being picked up? All those in favor of the amendment, please say aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? Okay, that amendment. Any further discussion on the resolution and agreement as amended? Yes, go ahead.
So is it gonna be stated in there then, if we decide we want it for a year, it's gonna be stated in there somewhere to that effect? And also, will there be signatures on this agreement?
So no to the first one, because it's not currently in there. There's just a term, so it's
He's looking at her.
well, case in point, it does not in fact describe a term in the memorandum agreement. So
if we wanted to make it for 1 year only, that would be another amendment.
Yep.
Okay.
And
The
then
1 year only agreement keeps the waters pretty turbulent.
Well,
What's the,
on one hand, it keeps the waters turbulent, but it also keeps everything running.
right, I understand that, I'm just trying to think about what the process would be for making a decision.
It could be that we agree that, all right, we're going to keep this going for at least another year, and we'll talk more about how it looks moving forward. From the county's perspective, we're telling folks, okay, this is what it needs to look like to be sustainable. Because the way it looks presently, the county can't sustain it without putting tax levy dollars in, which we don't have extra tax levy dollars around to do. So the budget and the rates that are put forward for 2026 are, all right, this is a service we could sustain doing. Whether municipalities choose that they want to be a part of that, I guess is up to them. But we've got to be honest with them that this is what it's going to take to keep it running. And they could choose to sign on for the year and then see what they want to do after that. They could choose to sign on for the year and say, hey, this is working good, let's keep doing it. You know, that would be what we'd have to start talking about middle of 26 is, all right, what happens next? Yes, go ahead.
But also, that would be one advantage of a contract. If we had a contract, it could be put into place that either entity has to give a 60 or 90-day notice that they're going to pull it off. So that's where there would be a benefit of having a contract versus just a memorandum agreement, because then it says us, like when we had struggles with staffing earlier this year, we still provided the service. We still went, we got Tri-State to come in, we provided that service. I don't think we would have had to. It was in good faith that we did. We should. It was the best thing to do. But a contract would say, yes, you will. County, you will provide this service for us.
Mr. Carroll.
Well, this MOU does explain the relationship that's envisioned, but I guess I'm following up on what Julie said, executing it. In item 6, it talks about the motion or resolution shall approve the memorandum agreement and shall designate the official who is authorized to sign. Does that mean we need to do that tonight?
So that's for the municipality who's entering into the agreement.
But what about on our side?
The administrator. I mean, you could change it, I guess. There's nothing precluding you from making that designation. It's just.
Other questions? Questions or amendments? Mr. McGuire?
Yeah, I guess I get it. So should we go with this contract versus, I mean, this doesn't sound like it's working for what we're looking for. I think that the townships see the number so they can build their budget off. I mean, township can build their budget off of this. I think, I know when in executive finance, when we were talking about this, Richland was concerned about their call volume is what the concern was. It wasn't, I don't know that the concern was the money as much as the call volume was extremely higher than what they thought they had. And they wanted clarification on that, if I remember correct.
Call volume increased the cost.
Understood, but they said that their call volume was less than what the call volume was reported on the number, on the sheet we looked at. That's where the concern was, I think, when Matt was talking to us the other night.
I think the question was whether Pine Valley was included in that. That was the issue.
That was a question, and that was something we were going to get back with them about after the fact, so.
We have not thus far found any evidence of an agreement or anything indicating. So it was reported during that meeting that the mayor at the time had essentially obligated the city to pay for the Pine Valley calls instead of the town of Richland. We've been unable to find any kind of documentation or agreement to that. So absent that agreement, the municipalities were interested in seeing that same kind of relationship. I think that they would need to negotiate amongst themselves some kind of conditions for reimbursement. And I pity the guy who'd have to draw that up, but that's basically why those numbers jumped up so high, is because we started counting Pine Valley where Pine Valley actually is. No.
No, Pine Valley was counted with the city, not with the
Right.
township.
And
So the
that's
numbers
being counted
provided.
in the town.
But those new numbers have not been shared. Yes. Yes. So the numbers that were presented, and I think what we have to remember, the previous agreement was set forth in 23 and it was agreed upon in 22. So those were numbers based off of 18, 19, 20, and 21. So we have an aging population in this county. Our numbers are going to go up. And we saw that when I looked through past things, municipalities, the city, their numbers every year went up. There was a couple times they would dip down, but on a regular basis, those numbers would go up. So the numbers that are presented now are for the past 4 years, 24, 23, 22, and 21. And I think we have to remember that we had COVID during that time, which is going to increase the call volume. And again, we have an aging population.
They're still unclear on that.
Say that again? I'm sorry.
They still are unclear on. They don't feel like they have justification for the jump.
Call data and stuff like that, we can talk with municipalities about as we seek to reach these agreements, so. We're on discussion before about contract versus memorandum based on Mr. Cooey's comments. Anybody have strong feelings? You want to make an amendment to say we should do a contract?
I'll make that.
Okay, well, we have a suggestion of what that might look like.
I'll second.
Okay, motion and a second for what we're about to read here.
So we would look to update the resolution to remove the first note, therefore it be resolved. And we would eliminate the memorandum of agreement. We would then add a be it further resolved that each municipality will pay the $225 for each time a ambulance request was made and the ambulance was dispatched. We would have the minimum of the $2,500 per call, and that a contract would be offered to each municipality with a request that they agree to it by November 1st.
Okay, so that's what we would change to make it a contract provision versus going to the memorandum. Have a motion and a second discussion.
So then you'll get that contract. We approve that contract will go to the townships as soon as, do we have to approve the contract, the county board? So then it pushes it back another month? Because then if you want to get it by November, you're getting close to where you're not going to have township meetings before November.
So you can authorize the creation of the contract as part of the action you take tonight. Whether or not you want to include formal language doing that, or just know that that's the directive that we've received.
I would, and the reason why I'm saying is the timeline's getting closer. And we need.
And November 1st is kind of important to us because we need to know what to do.
Yeah, exactly.
Could it be reviewed by the executive committee then?
Next week we could review it.
We have it ready by then?
Yes.
Okay, it can be ready for ready by executive next week. Mr. McGuire.
Yeah, I'm very curious here because we're talking, it is on our agenda and it is the county. Of course, I represent Lone Rock, so I'm curious, is the ambulance service in other municipalities within our county affected by these cost increases? And number two, would they be affected by this contract?
To my knowledge, other municipalities that aren't part of our ambulance service don't sign a contract with us. Now, that's not to say our ambulance never goes there, because we have provided support to surrounding ambulance services when they can't get a crew together. I don't know what happens on the billing end for that.
We have mutual aid agreements, but I've not had the opportunity to review one, so I'm not sure how it might impact it.
Okay, all right, thank you.
I know multiple other surrounding services have struggled at times to get crews together, and so our ambulance has been paged out to make the run for them, even though we're some distance away. All right, so we have the motion before us. Any further discussion on it?
So now,
The amendment, I should say, the amendment.
I have one question.
Yes.
Up in Lower in Yuba.
Mhm.
So they would be in that, you said, or saying they aren't part of this.
They are right now.
They are right now.
Yes.
And that the maximum is 2,500, is it? Is that
Minimum.
correct?
The minimum is 2,500.
Free.
Oh, the minimum.
Yeah.
Yep.
And that's per person? Just once,
Once a year.
this is just
Per
for you
municipality.
guys.
All right. Any other questions on the amendment? All in favor of the amendment to change it to contractual versus the memorandum, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Right, the amendment is adopted. Back to the resolution as amended. Any further discussion? Not all in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Resolution's adopted. Contract will come to executive and finance at its next meeting to review. All right, so moving on to item 20, resolution approving the Simons Intergovernmental Agreement. This will be
resolution number 25-73. Now therefore be it resolved by the Richland County Board of Supervisors, the updated Simon's intergovernmental agreement is approved. Be it further resolved that this resolution shall be effective immediately upon passage. Is being offered to you by the Executive and Finance Standing Committee on September 9 of 2025.
You heard that resolution. That motion, please. Motion by Mr. Cooley, second by Mr. Schoonover. In discussion. This has been in the works for a while. Mike is here.
Yeah, I can briefly summarize this, I guess. But yeah, we started discussing this at the natatorium committee last, I believe it was October last year. We had Attorney Wendell come after we discussed it for a while, and we came up with a draft, an initial draft MOU to take to the city. We finished that in January, and then we put it on hold while we were waiting for results of the innovation study RFP, which has now come through, and they haven't announced anyone yet. But earlier this summer, we continued to get an MOU out there. So Attorney Wendell came back, added some additional language in there. We took it to the city in August. City Finance looked at it. They made a few recommendations, sent it back to us. An editorial board looked at those changes that Attorney Wendell was able to draft in there, and they recommended approval of those. Sent it back to the city, and earlier this month, Finance Committee recommended it on City Council, who also approved it. Sent it back to the county. Last week, the Executive and Finance recommended it for your approval, have your discussion, so it's on your plates now tonight. Basically, this is, again, a 1987 agreement, the original agreement for Simons. Really, nothing's been done, but a lot's obviously happened since 1987. For example, we've got county and city administrators now, so the makeup is totally different there. So originally, how the natatorium board was set up, they were set up to hire and supervise the staff at Simons, for example. They were responsible for setting the budget and everything. So all of that language was changed so that the staff is actually hired by and under the county administrators oversight and as a department of the county, for example. So some of the bigger things that are included in this, we did have one member that was on the Simons the natatorium board that was the UW-Platteville Richland representative. Obviously, there's no more campus out there anymore, so that representative had been vacant, or that spot had been vacant. So the natatorium board had recommended putting a member of the Simons Foundation board on that. So that's one change there. A couple of the other things, again, this kind of changes the natatorium board to be more advisory in nature, so that they're advising to the county board and city council for policy, for budget, for that type of thing. One of the biggest things is that, and this was discussed at your last item, was that this will have a sunset clause. At the end of 2026, it will terminate, and it'll have to be renegotiated again, of course. So this would be, again, what we were talking about, the last item. We'll be looking at this, and this is something that should be reviewed regularly by staff, of course. And then anytime there are changes like we had with the major changes to the city and the county, these should be reviewed more often. This should have been reviewed more often. So this will be reviewed starting in July, and then we'll be able to look at this when we're looking at budget. And as the innovation study comes through, we'll know a little bit more about the makeup of Simons. We'll be looking at, Trish had mentioned that we're going to be doing a little bit of reorganization for the management structure, staffing structure. So this will give us a good opportunity to kind of go through that transitional period and to see what it looks like in 2027 under different organizational structure. So, and I know Attorney Wendell did a lot of work making this whole thing work, a lot of this legal stuff. So I don't know if he has anything to add or if you have any questions for him, but he knows all the legal stuff. So.
Mr. Wendell?
No, I think we hit the high points. Going back to the last item, this is not dissimilar from some of the things that I would look to do in that contract. Section 7 is the specific sunset provision. I guess I reiterated this in executive and finance, and I'll say it again here. It's not that like it renews on January 1st, 2027, or maybe you guys can talk it over. This contract ends at the end of 2026. It has language in there so that if somebody misses it ending and pays towards Simons anyway, they're just considering that a gift. But the terms of this, the other terms of this agreement cease to be effective at the end of the year on 2026. So also incorporated therein is a suggestion that discussions regarding the contract begin no later than July 1st, 2026. But just to make that really clear, theoretically, if no action is taken on this could terminate, and then one or the other party could simply say, well, you know what, we're not going to renegotiate. We're done with assignments. And I don't think anybody wants to see that happen.
Other questions or discussion on the agreement? We would hope that by that time next year, we would have some feedback from the innovation planning grant that's being done, that's looking at, okay, what is the best way for a facility like this to be run and be an asset to the community? And if the recommendation is it should keep going the way it's going, the parties could agree to extend the contract. There are no questions. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? Resolution's adopted. Item 21, a resolution approving amendments to Appendix A, committees and other boards and commissions.
This will be resolution number 25-74. Now therefore be it resolved by the Richland County Board of Supervisors, the proposed amendments to Appendix A, committees and other boards and commissions are approved. Be it further resolved that the resolution shall be effective immediately upon passage. This was reviewed at the Committee on Committees on August 25th of 2025.
The resolution, looking for a motion. Motion by Mr. McKee, need a second. Second by Supervisor Kramer. And discussion.
So you have the Appendix A is the listing of all the different committees that the county has. So it starts with the standing committees, goes on to all the other boards and committees, and then any ad hoc committees. So remember when we reorganized all of this here in the not too distant past, upon naming these committees and just reviewing this document, there were some things that we need to update, some things that were missed, and just some things that we added to clarify some of the composition of these committees and how we're arranged. So I will go through the amendments. They are nothing major. I would consider this just some cleanup language and some things that were missed. So standing committees, there's no proposed changes to standing committees with the exception of we're talking Public Works Committee. We added a line in there on page 3 that says oversight of current and future planning and use of county facilities. So you'll recall we all designated, or you as a board designated, those responsibilities to the Public Works Standing Committee. So that item was just added as kind of one of their additional duties. So that was a change to that subcommittee. That was it for that, correct? Anything for you to know? Okay. And then going to section 2, other boards and commissions. I alphabetized these, so we did do some alphabetization that was helpful. So they are a little just reorganized, reordered, but starting with the ADRC of Eagle Country Board, we removed the requirement that there must be a community health services member. So that was listed on there, but we had a county board member was appointed to that was not actually on the Community Health Services Committee. So we just removed that requirement, and we were able to do so. For B, the Aging Advisory Committee, we did change that to 7 members appointed by the administrator and confirmed by the county board. 4 of those members shall be older individuals. And then per the statute 56.82 sub 4, there's various, the composition of that needed to be updated. So Administrator Clements and I worked together on just updating that to make sure it was within the guidelines that it should be. Moving on to page 4, Board of Adjustments was the next one that was amended. There was a clause in there that said that could not be a county board member being on those committees. I know Supervisor Williamson can attest to the fact that it's been rather difficult to sometimes staff that Board of Adjustments committee, and those that have been on that committee for a while maybe departing soon. So That was just changed to say 3 members and 2 alternates appointed by the administrator and confirmed by the county board. So nothing major there. Next change, let's see. I added committee on committees on this list. We also added courthouse security. We added criminal justice coordinating committee. And the idea for adding these committees to this listing was that anywhere that there was a county board representation needed, we added them on here. So when it came to, next April, you will all be up for election and we'll be redoing committee on committees all over again. So we just added some of these in which a county board member was needed. So those were the ones added there. The next change was Land Information Council. We added that one. LEPC was added. And then we did notate the statutes in which these committees are governed by or referenced. So you could look at that when needed. We added Mississippi Valley Health Services Commission. We did change that one. There needed to be 1 county board member that was appointed to that. That wasn't necessarily indicated in the previous version of this. So we did add that clarification. Prosperity Southwest, we added that committee. That's a new representation that was requested by Southwest Regional Planning Commission. The Richland Center Library Board would be the next one that we modified a bit here. Included the statutory reference for that. But also this is only required to have 1 county board member. There were 2 that were on there. At one point we changed this to 1. And part of that was because one of our vacancies, one of the committee members was one of the vacancies. So after we spoke with the powers that be at the library board, we were able to do so. We just need 1 county board member. So we did change that to 1. Let's see, page 6, Q, Southwest Wisconsin Library System Board. We also changed that to 1 county board member and 1 citizen member. We already had those appointments in place. Actually, this was just language cleanup. For Southwest Regional Planning Commission, R, that was changed to 3 members appointed by the administrator and confirmed by the county board. 1 member should be the county board chair, and then 2 members are to be citizens or county board members. For the natatorium board, this is actually going to reflect the changes that were just made for the intergovernmental agreement then. That says 3 members, 1 be the county board chair and 2 other at-large county board members. So that was modified a bit. Then B, the library board, again, we just added that statutory language on there. And I believe that was the last edit. So again, there were no committees taken away. We added committees to this list that already existed. There were no new committees created. We just cleaned up the list to have it reflect what we currently right now have for committees and committee compositions. So I think I got everything.
Yes.
Okay.
Any questions on the updates? Yes, go ahead.
For the EDRC, it says older individuals. Is there an age that should be put on that? So what do you consider old?
Well, we didn't do an age because it's per statute, so we can reference statute with that. I believe it's 60 is what it is right now. I mean, we could certainly add that it's an older individual, 60 or older.
So it states it in the statutes.
It
60
does,
and older.
it does, yes.
Yeah.
That was the idea of just leaving the reference to that. So if that didn't change, then it would follow the reference, statutory reference, correct? And it follows in line with the other statutory references being noted for the purposes of this structure.
Mr. McKee.
I'm currently the representative on EDRC.
And then also just to note, we did from this list remove the Lone Rock Library Board, but that was already decided that we didn't have the fund. Remember, we didn't contribute the funding for that, so we don't have representation on that committee any longer. So that happened around the time that this new document was created. So that was just removed from the list because that had already been decided.
Other questions? None. All those in favor of the resolution approving these amendments, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Item 22, resolution approving changes to the holiday section of the Handbook of Personnel Policies and Work Rules in Richland County.
This will be resolution number 25-75. Now therefore be it resolved that the Richland County Board of Supervisors approves the proposed changes to the holiday section of the Handbook of Personnel Policies and Work Rules of Richland County. Be it further resolved that this resolution shall be effective January 1 of 2026. This is being offered to you by the Executive and Finance Standing Committee on August 25th of 2025.
Need a motion on this one? By Mr. McKee, second by Mr. Williamson. And discussion.
So one of the goals for this year is to update the handbook. And as I was reviewing the handbook, it was found that certain Pine Valley residents got 2 additional holidays than the rest of the employees. I do know that at the start of this year, the sheriff's department did catch up with everybody else to get to 10. We are now looking to get everybody to 12 so that it is consistent across all departments. So we are asking to add those 2 holidays. We're also asking in there to clean up a little bit of the language as reflected on the document that we have included in here. If this is approved tonight, we would then update the sheriff's addendum because that's the addendum that outlines holidays, and then we would work with the union to update the contract, to create an agreement. To addendum to the contract.
Questions on this? No questions. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Good, the resolution's adopted. Item 23, a resolution approving provider contract amendments for 2025 for the Health and Human Services Department.
See resolution number 25-76. Now therefore be it resolved by the Richland County Board of Supervisors, their approval is hereby granted to amend the mentioned contracts for 2025. You see the 2 listed above there. Be it further resolved that the Director of Health and Human Services, Ms. Stephanie Rockfeld, is hereby authorized to sign the above contracts on behalf of Richland County in accordance with this resolution. Be it further resolved that this resolution shall be effective immediately upon its passage and publication. This is being offered to you by the county board members of the Community and Health Services Standing Committee on September 4th of 2021.
Approve that resolution. Motion by Kramer. Second by Mann. And discussion.
Randy Christensen, the behavioral health manager, is here to talk about her contract, and then I believe Brittany Works is online to talk about hers.
So the one that I have on here is for Roots Residential. They're an AFH in Racine, Wisconsin, that house some of our individuals in CCS and or protective placement. We're asking for an amendment on this one because during this year, we had an individual placed at Roots that we didn't plan for. So then our expenses just went up quite a bit for that one. So we just want to ensure that coming to the end of the year, we're not over budget for our contract on that.
Any questions?
And there is a second contract. I believe Brittany Works is online and can talk about her contract with the Bakari Center.
Yes, so similar to Brandy, our contract for Bakari is over budget. It was 95,000, and we did go over that, so we are requesting that be increased to 125,000. We do not have a youth placed there at this time. The last time a youth was placed there was May. But in the off chance that we do need to place there again, we would need that contract amended.
Questions on either of these? There are no questions. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? Resolution's adopted. Item 24, resolution approving a provider contract for 2025 for the Health and Human Services Department.
This will be resolution number 25-77. Now therefore be it resolved by the Richland County Board of Supervisors that approval is hereby granted to the Community and Health Services Standing Committee to enter into the list provided contract. That's we gotta change that. It should be for Community and Health Services, not Standing Committee, to enter into the listed provider contract for 2025. Be it further resolved, the Director of Health and Human Services Department, Ms. Stephanie Ronfeld, is hereby authorized to sign the above contract on behalf of Richland County. In accordance with this resolution, be it further resolved that this resolution shall be effective immediately upon its passage and publication. This is being offered to you by the County Board members of the Community and Health Services Standing Committee on September 4th of 2025.
I have a motion on this one with the typo corrector. Motion by Mr. McKee, second by Mr. Schoonover. Discussion.
So this is for another AFH for one of our placements. We have an individual who was residing at a facility that we had previously contracted with. They gave notice, so we had to find alternative placement for her. She is on protective placement, so we do have to place her at the facility and cover the cost. So we were able to find a location in Madison for resting residential. And we're just waiting for approval to go into that contract with them, so that way they can get moved in.
Anyone with questions? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Resolution's adopted. Item 25, resolution approving the Department of Health and Human Services applying for and accepting a treatment alternatives and diversion or TAD grant.
Resolution number 25-78. Now therefore be it resolved by the Richland County Board of Supervisors that approval is hereby granted for the Health and Human Services to apply and accept a treatment alternatives and diversion TAD grant administered by the Wisconsin Department of Justice, Department of Corrections, and the Department of Health Services in the amount of $177,333. Be it further resolved, this grant requires a $43,333 county match up to $36,351.57, of which will be a cash match. Be it further resolved that approval is hereby granted for the grant funds to be spent in accordance with the terms of the grant, and the Director of Health and Human Services Department, Ms. Stephanie Ronfeld, and or the Honorable Judge McDougall is authorized to sign on behalf of the county any documents necessary to carry out this resolution. Be it further resolved that this resolution shall be effective immediately upon its passage and publication. This is being offered to you by the county board members of the Community Health Services Standing Committee on September 4, 2025.
Resolution, looking for a motion. Motion by Mr. Manning, second by Mr. Cooey. And discussion. Randy.
So our treatment court program has been going on in the county since 2017. Started with sobriety court, and then in 2022, we got a drug court program. This program helps individuals with treatment and recovery and supervision in the community instead of incarcerating them. All individuals have been charged with some form of drug or alcohol offense. And instead of going to prison, they remain in our community getting the services that they need. So we are asking, every year we have to apply for the grant that funds the program. The grant does require I think 20% match, which ends up being $43,333. But as stated, we use a little over $36,000 in kind, which means money that the county's already spending. So the sheriff's department, when they do RUAs, we can count all of that. It's not tax levied. Victim witness coordinator, when she comes to staffing, those are already counted. So those aren't expenses that are out of the county's bucket.
Questions? Mr. Carroll.
So do the expenditures go toward, do the costs go towards a staff cost or to a third party?
It goes to the overall cost of the program to run the program. So it might go, there's certain things that the grant can cover in the program, and then there's certain things that the county match has to cover in the program. So the additional part of the county match that would be tax levy would be used just to help fund the program for the year.
But some of the expenses are staff expenses. We have to buy UAs, the drug tests we have to purchase. There are incentives for the program. There is treatment costs for the program that sometimes we have to cover treatment. Those are the different things that are covered within this grant.
Third parties.
Yes, some of them are. Yep.
Any other questions? All those in favor say aye. Aye. That resolution. Moving on to item 26, a resolution approving changes to the Pine Valley Community Village addendum.
This will be resolution number 25-79. Now therefore be it resolved by the Richland County Board of Supervisors that approval is granted, that the addendum hereby approves and adopts the staff addendum changes as presented, effective September 16, 2025. Be it further resolved that the administrator and or human resources designee is authorized to implement, distribute, and communicate that approved addendum or addendums to all affected staff members, and to secure acknowledgement of receipt is required. Be it further resolved that this resolution shall be effective immediately upon passage and publication. This is being offered to you by the Executive Finance Standing Committee on September 9, 2025.
Motion by Mr. Manning, Second by Mr. Perry. And discussion. Brittany.
So we just made a few changes. Sick time and vacation time has been changed to the same as the county, so it kind of just levels out across the board. We created a grievance policy to kind of prevent staff from kind of going outside of their department, so we can resolve grievances quickly in-house with our staff. Changing up schedule time, so instead of 7.45 hours, our staff will work the 8 hours. So we can ensure good quality communication between staff members, between shifts. Premium pay is going to go to staff that are on call and weekend obligated. We will accommodate light duty restrictions if staff members are injured on the job, so we can make sure we're not paying workers' comp payout. On-call requirements have been outlined to ensure they are working required hours and getting prior approval if they can't pick up, like our college students. We laid out payouts in the event of layoff or terminations and set a limit on what's going to be paid out in the event of those. We've added a no call, no show policy. After 2, they're done. And then we are going to hold off on the comp time changes until January 1st, and I put that in the addendum as of January 1st, 2026, because we are going to be working on the exception statuses. And then gifting, we have it in there right now. What was in here was that we had to reverse the county handbook. In nursing, we're not allowed to accept gifts, so that just reflects that change.
So this is something that Brittany and I spent many, many hours working on together. We both started about the same time in our respective roles and have found that there were lots of hiccups, lots of inconsistencies, and that the hope is with this update, things will go smooth.
That's the plan, and that.
Any questions? All those in favor, say aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? Adopted that resolution. Item 28, a resolution, or 27, pardon me, resolution approving new private pay rates for Pine Valley Community Village.
This will be resolution number 25-80. Now therefore be it resolved by the Richland County Board of Supervisors that approval is hereby granted for the proposed new rates of Pine Valley Community Village. Private pay, daily and or monthly room and board rates shall be increased by $96 per month in the assisted living and $10 per day in the nursing home facility as outlined in the attached rate schedule. Be it further resolved, this resolution shall be effective upon passage. This is being offered to you by the Executive and Finance Standing Committee on September 9 of 2025.
The motion on this. Motion by Mr. Cooey, second by Mr. Williamson. Discussion.
So just needing to make an increase as of 2024, there was no request for an increase in 2025. So it's just a small increase. I looked at previous years and how much money they went up, so we're well within our market value. And then, so that will be $10 per day for the skilled side, because that is daily care. And then the assisted living side is just going to go up $96 per month. We just want to be able to sustain, making sure we're able to pay our bills, making sure that we're taking into effect the inflation of, our medical supplies, medication, food cost, all those things. So this should kind of help decide for another year.
Any with questions on this? Ms. Kramer, go ahead.
On the assisted living, so it's gonna go up $96 plus what's there now.
Correct. So when I was looking at the previous years, it goes up by $2 each year. So the last time it went up, it was 92, then 94. So now we're at the 96. So it's about that percentage, and it's been a consistent increase for several years like that.
So one person would have to pay, you pay this monthly or you pay?
Yeah, so this $96 is a monthly cost versus a daily. Correct.
Other questions? Seeing these, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? Very much. Item 28, resolution authorizing the revenue from the sale of sheriff's vehicles to be placed in Fund 170, new sheriff's car fund.
This will be resolution number 25-81. Now therefore be it resolved by the Richland County Board of Supervisors that approval is hereby granted for all revenue from the sale of shared vehicles be placed in Fund 170. Be it further resolved that this resolution shall be effective immediately upon passage. This is being offered to you by Executive and Finance Standing Committee on September 9 of 2025, and also approved in Public Safety Standing Committee on September 5 of 2025.
So resolution, motion by Mr. Manning, second by Mr. Perry. And discussion.
So this is something that the sheriff and I have talked about, how things work right now when they sell a vehicle. They have to offer it to county departments first, so they are losing out on revenue that could be used for future purchases. As you can see, we had money in short-term borrowing for vehicles. So we are asking that they be allowed to sell the vehicles, place it in this fund so that it can help offset future vehicle purchases.
And this is a practice that we did historically. When I would get the resolutions to purchase new vehicles, I always had it in kind of the bottom part of that resolution. But then, so we bought 2 vehicles and we were authorized to sell 2 vehicles with the money to roll into the new say. That went away when we started borrowing, and we just would like to bring that back.
Questions from the board? Mr. Carroll.
So the option is still there to either convert to another department or sell at sheriff's discretion.
No.
No, no,
They'll always be sold.
yes.
Okay, got it.
Be sold with the money going back into the sheriff's account 170. So how we did that before is it did do that, but then we decided, you know, all these other departments were wanting to get vehicles instead of going out and buying new vehicles. He was getting rid of a vehicle. Why don't we just give that department needs that to save on some costs? But now that all these departments have their vehicles, he's wanting to take that money now and make a reduction in the cost of the vehicle by like trading in.
Departments eventually will need more cars.
I get it, but right now we're not at that need, I guess. So.
Other questions?
Well, then why don't we just add that? So if it's not needed at the department level, then it's sold and put into the, because going forward, that would make the most sense in my mind. If the departments, we already bought the car. If whoever needs a car, they should take that one that's not worn out yet and use that. And then if everybody's good, then we sell and put it in. That doesn't make any sense to go sell a car and then go buy a car. That doesn't make any sense at all. We're just moving the money. We're borrowing the money now to buy the sheriff's cars anyway. And I don't foresee, we'd have to sell an awful lot of cars. The cars are never gonna cover the ones we have to replace. It's never gonna, they'll never sell that many cars to do that.
Mr. Chair, if I may.
Yes, please.
So I think, right, so this has kind of gone different ways. When we would get rid of a car, sometimes it went into Fund 10 and sometimes it didn't. So I think this is really just trying to specify that if a vehicle is like sold, right? Like, or if the vehicle could be repurposed, I don't think there's anything wrong with the department saying, hey, we need a car, and then just, you know, assigning it to that department. This is just specifying that the money from the proceeds from the sale of a vehicle will go into Fund 17, which is a designated fund, segregated from the general fund, Fund 10. So this started with the money going back into Fund 10 because the sheriff's department's funded out of Fund 10, the general fund. So this would just segregate those funds and put them in a different fund by themselves. So this way, that money would not be rolled into Fund 10, it'd go into Fund 170, and they could use that money to purchase a car to offset any future costs. So it's really just, like Mark said, designating where the money's put. So you're not putting it in Fund 10, the general fund, you're putting it in Fund 170, just to have it as a segregated fund, basically, for that, the funds for the purchase of a new vehicle. I think either whatever you do with the vehicle, whatever, if another department can have it, so be it. You're just saying the money's going in Fund 170 instead of Fund 100, Fund 10.
I understand that, but if we've already purchased a vehicle and a different department needs it, there should be no purchase there, right? So there's gonna be no money changing hands. But if I wanna get money in my account, and I wanna sell vehicles to get money in my account, right? Not saying that the sheriff's gonna do that and make sure that somebody else doesn't get a car. But my point is first, it should be defined that we cover the county's needs And if we sell the car, then it goes into 170. I'm perfectly fine with that. I don't have a problem with that. But I think we need to specify what we're going to do.
Mr. Carroll just asked that question, correct?
Yeah, it's the same question. It's just, I need.
Resolution doesn't seem to prescribe that the car has to be sold, does it?
Correct.
No, but maybe it should be amended to say, okay, this is what we're going to do. So there's more clear definition. That's all I would ask.
Added just a whereas if
Yes.
it is not needed by another department.
Then the money, when it is sold, the money goes into funds 170. That's perfectly fine. I have no problem with that.
Making an amendment there, Mark?
Yes, that's the amendment.
That amendment? I have a second. Second by Mr. Carroll. Discussion on the amendment that we're clarifying that when a vehicle is sold, if it's not needed by another department, then this takes place. Questions on that amendment? Not all in favor of the amendment, say aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? Okay, back to our resolution as amended. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? Resolution is adopted as amended. Item 29, a resolution approving the transfer of funds from Fund 980 to Fund 320.
This will be resolution number 25-82. Now therefore be it resolved that the Richland County Board of Supervisors approves the transfer of funds of the amount of $148,556.70 from Fund 980 to Fund 320. Be it further resolved that this resolution shall be effective immediately upon passage. This is being offered to you by the Executive and Finance Standing Committee on September 9, 2020.
Okay, need a motion on this resolution. Motion by Kramer, second by McKee. And discussion.
So Fund 980 is the fund that was set up when East Hall was sold. 150,000 was put in there. We are asking that the remaining funds left in there, because a little bit of that was used to cover the bill with SEH. That the remaining money be put in Fund 320, which is our campus bill, or our campus fund. The bills have been more than what we have budgeted, and so we're asking that these funds be budgeted to offset the deficit we have this year and to help fund the remaining expenses for next year.
Anybody got questions? Standing. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Resolution's adopted. Item 30, resolution approving the Richland County Pregnant Workers Fairness Act policy.
This will be resolution number 25-83. Now therefore be it resolved by the Richland County Board of Supervisors that the Richland County Pregnant Workers Fairness Act policy is approved. And be it further resolved that this resolution shall be effective immediately upon passage. This is being offered to you by the Executive and Finance Standing Committee on September 9 of 2025.
For the resolution, do I have a motion? Motion by Kramer. Second. Second by McKee. And discussion.
All right, so this is a law that was put in place back in 2023. We do not have a policy that outlines how we should be treating pregnant workers fairly. And so this clearly outlines the expectations of the county when we have employees who are pregnant.
Any discussion, questions on this? If not, everyone in favor, please say aye. Aye. Resolution is adopted. Item 31, resolution designating the county clerk to serve as backup county administrator as needed.
All right, this will be resolution number 25-84. Now therefore be it resolved that the Richland County Board of Supervisors approves the designation of the county clerk to serve as backup county administrator as needed. Be it further resolved that this resolution shall be effective immediately upon passage. This is being offered to you by the Executive and Finance Standing Committee on September 9 of 2025.
For the resolution, motion by Mr. Manning, second by Mr. Perry. And discussion.
So when I first got into this role, this board approved me appointing somebody to take up to 20 hours in the role as the deputy administrator. Given the workload that staff already have, there wasn't anyone who was able to add on additional hours to their case or to their workload. In discussions with the chairman, it was determined that if we designate the county clerk as my backup when I'm unavailable, then at least when I am on vacation, ill, have some emergency happen, there is somebody here that can make those decisions in an emergency situation.
Also not looking then to fill that position
Correct.
in the next budget, so.
That's correct.
So there would be financial savings by doing it this way. Mr. McGuire.
I'm just curious about the exact definition of the word needed here. You know, that's a very broad term.
I think you would see a circumstance of need whenever the administrator was unavailable to make a decision.
Just unavailable.
Yeah, we didn't say specifically not in the office, but unavailable, so.
Okay, all right.
So if it's on a vacation, I would be notifying the department heads that I am out and unavailable and to reach out to Clerk Kalish. I would also be letting the board chair know in those situations. And if there is an emergency where I'm unable to do anything, Clerk Kalish will be talking with the chairperson about that.
Thank you.
My question was more about the,
Calling Julie first, then you.
So does that mean by designating person who is backup administrator then has authority to sign documents, contracts, everything? We don't need to state that in there, it's just given? Okay.
No, that's actually the entire point of doing this as a resolution rather than just saying it. It transfers the statutory authority of the county administrator to Supervisor McGuire's point. It could require some interpretation on the tail end if action's taken during a period of time. You know, we can debate whether or not action was needed at the given time, but for the purposes contemplated, this is the best way to do that and to make sure. I was actually just perusing the 25th Amendment, and ours is way simpler, but it is extremely helpful to have a clear delegation when we're talking about this level of authority.
Larry, go ahead.
the question I had was, if I heard you correctly, you said you're going to not put that money in the budget for the associate. I'm just wondering whether or not that's could be left in just to use in case you need to hire somebody to come into a personnel policy thing or something big that you can get off your plate and know it's going to get done.
And
But
that's,
consult.
and that's where we're looking to have an HR director instead of an HR generalist, because the HR director should be able to do exactly that. They should be able to write those policies, take over that. If there's a investigation that needs to be done in regards to a department head, they could take the lead on that. So that's how, when we were developing the budget, really looked at, okay, how can I get that extra support? And adding in that HR director who really can oversee personnel issues will be helpful.
Okay. Just checking.
Other questions? Mr. Severson, go ahead.
Do you accept the job? I haven't heard you say anything yet. Yeah, as I noted in executive and finance, it would be very difficult for me to function in the capacity of the designated 20 hours a week as the deputy administrator or whatever that position was titled before, in addition to already working my full-time gig as the county clerk. So you'll recall from January through April, when I was serving as the county clerk, the interim county administrator and unofficial finance director, because we didn't have one of those either, 80 hours a week is not sustainable for me or anyone in this room. Working 80 hours a week is not sustainable. These duties interact so much and we're already coordinating on lots of stuff anyway that it's personally easier for me to just separate it as this, help the administrator as needed. Again, we already have this level of coordination and working together, collaboration anyway. So I am okay donating or providing my services to the county as the backup as needed. I'm really okay with that, and that doesn't muddy the waters with statutory duties and non-statutory duties, and it's just a little cleaner. Even I feel like it's a little cleaner. I don't know if I feel like it makes it cleaner. Long answer, but of course I'm willing to step in.
Mr. McGuire.
I'd like to have it put in the minutes that Derek's going to donate his salary.
No, I'm not donating my salary. That's not what's happening. I'm fine doing that.
Other questions? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? Very much. Item 32, resolution approving acceptance of a bid from Universal Truck Equipment Incorporated for plow truck body build.
This will be resolution number 25-85. Now therefore be it resolved that the Richland County Board of Supervisors approves the bid from Universal Truck Equipment totaling $198,856 and the associated purchases. Further resolved that this resolution shall be effective immediately upon passage. This is being offered to you by the Public Works Standing Committee on September 11th, 2025.
You've heard the resolution. Do I have a motion? Motion by Mr. Cooey, second by Mr. Carroll. And Josh is online with us.
Yes, sir. So this is something we do every time we get a new plow truck. It's always done as a two-step process. First thing you do is you buy the chassis. That is literally a chassis with wheels and a cab and an engine. Second part from there is you have to build it out. That means the box, the plow, the wing, the sander, all necessary equipment to go plow the road. We chose Universal on this one from Public Works Committee over Monroe, even though Monroe was $1,800 cheaper, because we did suffer some quality control issues with Monroe in the past, and we're trying to keep a uniform inventory, which are primarily in our fleet now, we're carrying Universal equipment.
Anyone have questions?
Is this over and above their budget?
This is done out of capital improvement, borrowing each year. We identify $500,000 for the replacement of equipment. We limit that now to one truck. So that is identified separate out of the budget.
When do you expect the truck would be in service?
With Universal by probably December 2026. That's how long it takes to actually build one of these trucks.
Other questions? All those in favor of the resolution, please say aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? Resolution's adopted. Brings us to item number 34. Skipping 33, going to 34, closed session. Entertain a motion to enter into closed session pursuant to Wisconsin statutes 1985 parentheses E, deliberating or negotiating the purchasing of public properties, the investing of public funds, or conducting other specified public business whenever competitive or bargaining reasons require a closed session, potential future uses of campus buildings. Motion by Mr. Manning, second by Ms. Kramer to go into closed session. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Anyone opposed?
Aye.
Opposed to going into closed session?
Yes.
Okay. Need a roll call vote, please, to go into closed session.
So we'll start with Hendricks.
You, Elaine, first. Vote to go into closed session. We have to do a roll call because it wasn't unanimous.
He does not wish to go into closed.
Mr. McGuire voted no.
There's a roll call vote.
Manning.
Putting on whether we're going to go into closed session or not. Just have to do a roll call.
Yes.
Perry. Turk.
Aye.
Cosgrove. Frank is Von Severson.
No.
Williamson.
Yes.
Cooey.
Yes.
Fleming.
Yes.
McGuire. Carroll.
Yes.
Miller.
Yes.
Schoonover.
Yes.
Kramer.
Yes.
McKee.
Yes.
And Engel.
Yes.
All right, so we have 13 yes and 3 no.
Okay. We'll be moving into closed session.
1 second.
Yep.
We get 15-minute break or like a 5-minute or something?
We can take a 5-minute recess before the closed session begins. Give everybody a chance to work their way out here that's not going to be part of the closed session. 5-minute recess.
These anyone's no. Got red ink on.
Open session, guys.
Oh, they went that long.
Give folks a chance to get reset here.
Voted no. It was tucked in my little constitution.
I'll leave the door open.
All right. We are back in open session. Item number 36 on our agenda is possible action on items from the closed session. We have suggested language for the motion from Attorney Wendell.
So the proposed motion is to approve continued negotiations with the other party contingent on approval of public disclosure of said negotiations.
Okay, so I have a person willing to make that motion. Mr. Manning makes the motion. Mr. Cosgrove seconds. I know Mr. Frank's name tag is in front of him. So we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? Motion is adopted. Item 37, correspondence. None to report. I assume that means we also had no interest in Aiken County board seats expressed yet?
We had one for District 9 that is due September 22nd or October 6th. There's
Okay.
I gave them all there, so.
Okay.
And then there was, yeah, that's all I received, that's all.
Okay, so we're still looking for interested folks for our 4 vacant board seats that we have. Future agenda items.
I had two things. One was a Linda Gente's piece. And just wondering whether or not in future board meetings, we could move any resolution that has a staff member present closer to the beginning. Because we get people here for 2 hours, they get families.
And we do that as best we can, you know, when we set everything up to try to organize it as we can. But then sometimes if we have outside entities, so we try to do those outside entities, then staff members, then all of us.
Tonight we got a long agenda too.
Yeah.
We've had 39-point agendas that went a lot quicker than this before. Tonight was a lot of discussion.
This is one of my longer county board meetings.
Sorry.
We have top administrators here too.
Yes, we
That's
did.
a big time. Sit and watch.
Do we want to entertain changing the meeting time to earlier in the evening? And I mean,
Could
it's
be a
seriously
topic of
because
discussion.
we are extending their day. And it's probably not enough for them to leave and go home and come back.
We can put that on the agenda for next
Food
time.
for thought, you know.
Yep. Absolutely. Ms. Miller.
I have a question, like, there's a lot of talk out there about cutting down on supervisors. Isn't that a state mandate of how many we
No,
have?
the state gives us parameters. There's a maximum we can have. And I think there's also a minimum, isn't there? No, there's a
Maximum
minimum.
is 21 for our population.
Yeah, and so at whatever point that was decided, our forefathers ordained that we would have 21 supervisors.
But
We are not required to have that.
the decennial census says that we can redistrict and reduce the number of county board members in a 10-year period.
Well, we can actually do it even in between census.
We can, one time. Allows you to do it one time in that 10 thing. We did it just right after the census. We decided.
It was changed based on the last census. And so if we chose to do it again, we could look at that. However, we have an election coming up. And so if we were going to make any changes, it would have to be in place by November of this year so that all the paperwork could be done for electing supervisors to seats. So that's why I got scratched on the agenda tonight, because we don't have time to do anything about it. But it's something we definitely want to talk about in future meetings, maybe not next meeting, but definitely on the radar for the future. Does that help?
Yes, it came up at the town board meeting.
Okay.
the other day.
Other future agenda items?
Ask a question.
Yes.
Where are our open spots? Is it mostly within the city?
We have, at least one is within the city, I know.
Yeah, District 9 is out toward McDougal Lane. District 10 is here, right across the street. It's under Ingrid's district. District 20 would be towards Lone Rock, that area over by Judy. And then District 12 District 12 would be a city seat. I'm trying to think of the streets.
Roller rink, up by the
Yeah,
roller rink.
yeah, I was gonna say over that way. Yeah.
What district is?
He's District 9.
Right.
From like 80 north, it goes all the way over there to Covered Bridge Road, back down, round over to here.
Said Marshfield or Marsh?
Mark Gill.
So the maintenance of course is on the college website. It advertises the date. If you want to see the map is attached to the notice, so.
All right, any other future agenda items? If not, Mr. Manning makes a motion to adjourn, second by Supervisor Hendricks. All in favor, say aye. Aye, we are adjourned.
A certain number of people